Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen, and all in between, and welcome back to part 7 of the life and suffering of Sir Brante, the Inquisitor path. So, God, so much has happened, and I have so much to say. First of all, I want to apologise because I quite rushed through the second death scenes at the end. I was conscious I was running out of hardware space to record a video, so I'm going to go back through it a bit more slowly so we can read it properly and just take it in. But oh God, that was such a unplanned and unexpected twist of events. But it's a fantastic opportunity, actually, I think, for our character to do some roleplay. This is the moment when he's decided to turn towards the new faith and not the old faith. Oh, there's so much to talk about. So, what we did is actually what the law would have us do, the current law of the twins. Our grandfather's the head of the family and nobility, and we're all just commoners in that house at the moment. So, the law would have us follow through with what he tells us to do, which is what we did, which is why we get all the boost to nobility, ingenuity, and spirituality, because we actually followed our lot. But it resulted in all of our family getting a lesser death, which is a really bad thing. And I think this is exactly the point where I'm going to roleplay a little and say this is the reason why Jordan turns to the new faith, because this can't be the true love that the gods talk about that lets things like this happen. That can't be right. We've obviously missed something along the teachings that have been corrupted to allow something like this to happen. So this is the reason why my character is going to become a champion of the new faith. But then also we've got to remember that that's our second life gone. You only get 4, and the last one is your true death. So I've still got youth, peacetime, and the revolt chapters of my life to go through with just one life before true death. So this might not have actually been a good decision. I'm not going to reverse it because I think it's a great storytelling event. But we need to be careful about that now. We've only got one more death before true death, and still 2 more life stages to get through before we get to the revolt, and no doubt there'll be chances to die very often in the revolt. But anyway, that's the main thing I wanted to say. Was I wanted to use this opportunity to create this role-playing situation for us. So this is the reason why we're going to be a new faith champion, because this is horrible what's just happened, but it's the way things are. So I'm going to read through this again because I rushed through it yesterday, trying to get the recording finished before I ran out of space on my computer. Second death. Impenetrable darkness surrounds you. You stand alone, bare to the very essence. It paralyzes you. You have an urge to cover yourself, to hide. No one should see you so vulnerable, but you cannot conceal the truth in this place. You are bathed in an unbearably bright light. It has no hint of warmth in it. It is blinding. It leaves no shadows in the entire world. It is the light of the shining pillar itself. In this radiance you can clearly see all your thoughts and doubts, your errors and transgressions, the contradictions that have permeated you since birth. They cover you from head to toe like rough grey tatters, but they melt away in this light. You are naked. You feel liberated and whole. It is as though all the wounds and cracks in your soul have been healed, making it the way it should be. It is as though the scales have fallen from your eyes. You see the true shapes of things now. These are the laws by which the world abides, the grand design that moves life itself. You tread a path that is barely visible in the blinding light, giving shape to everything. In this light, you see the infinite complexity of the world, from the tiniest leaf to the enormity of the empire, and this world maintains its balance by virtue of the law that was embedded in it during the act of creation. Ahead of you, 2 figures are waiting on the path. They are gigantic, many times taller than a man. The elder holds a lash, the younger a sword. The younger gazes at you sternly, coldly. You kneel obediently before him and lower your head. The god raises his sword above you. This is divine retribution. There is no law without it, nor can there be. Every action has consequences. This is what shapes the world, making its very existence possible. In this moment, beneath the gaze of the merciless God, you comprehend the law that binds the entire world together. Which manifestation of the law will you live by? So we can go against the law, which is interesting. We can defy the divines of the gods and the law that binds it together, which is not what we're going to do. I guess let's say ourselves. We are an embodiment of the law. We have been made in accordance with divine design. The blade flashes. The younger's sword slashes through the air above your head. You do not yet deserve your final punishment. The law demands that you continue your life. Your form has not been completely destroyed, nor has that of the world. The younger extends a gigantic hand and shows you the way. You must proceed. The path leads you to the top of the crown of the silver tree, spread wide in the white gleam. The branches are close now. It is time to descend. You are drawn downward into darkness. The shadows that had disappeared in the blinding glow creep around you and envelop you. This is to be expected, but the purity and clarity of spirit are still with you. Something is forcing your throat open. Air. It scratches you on the inside. Your soul is filled with struggle again, with the contradictions from which the fabric of this world and you yourself are woven. The divine light that you gave you clarity is fading away with each passing moment. You have to open your eyes. Above you is the dark ceiling of the crypt. You are reborn. God, what a chapter. Anyway, the important thing is that this is a turning point for our character. We have to stop this gross misunderstanding of the twin gods' laws. The first thing you see in the gloom of the family crypt is Mother's sorrowful eyes. This is your fault. What could you have done? Without a sound, you mouth to her the very words she taught you. We must accept all suffering. This is the commoner's lot. And even as these very moments you live by your lot, as you lay on the cold rock of the crypt and do not turn away from Mother's weary face. This is my last life. In the depths of the crypt you find Nathan and Gloria reborn for the first time. They are shaking and crying silently. They have experienced their first death. And we caused that. Mother takes the children by the hand. You leave the crypt without a word and walk to what is left of the Brante estate. You belong to the common lot, and so you must endure the lash of fate as it strikes again and again. The servants come in time to put out the fire, but the second floor has already been reduced to ash. It will be a while before the floor is restored. Tomas's family gives you refuge for the night. No matter what happened, life goes on. The family estate was damaged by the fire, yet the family continues to live there. Grandfather's charred body is taken to the family crypt. Gregor Brante has died his true death. You go there to look at him. So Mam dropped a little bit, but it's okay because we still have her on +4, which is what we need. But I'm considering I might not choose her at the very end of this chapter for the plus spirituality. We're already doing pretty great with spirituality, but I'll talk a bit more about that later. His face is covered by cloth, hiding his expression. Did Gregor Brante finally find solace at the pillar amongst the flames in his final living moments, or did he die as he lived, an embittered soul driven mad because he could never truly live by his lot? So he liked us a little bit more. He had his true death, we know that at least. Our wealth went down, but that's okay, we're still moderate. Spirituality went up to 8, so we're now blessed by the gods. Ingenuity's gone up, and so is us being honourable, which is good. But we've died twice, and that's quite dangerous. And I'm a little bit concerned about that. Well, I'm actually more than a little bit concerned. Grandfather's demise, year 1132. Your grandfather, Sir Gregor Brante, left this world forever to meet the twin gods. God, I wonder what's going to happen next. Last respects. I think we've only got 2 more events before the end of this chapter, and we need to have nobility at the end of this section if we can. But we'll see what happens. The night of grandfather's death shook your family to the core. Yet no matter how it happened, your grandfather, Gregor Brante, is dead and will never return. He was a fearful shadow looming over the rest of the family, the Brante patriarch exerting his influence on all the lives below him, and all of you will remember him forever. Father is the new patriarch of the family now, yet he still cannot bring himself to sit at the head of the table where Sir Gregor used to preside. Stefan locks himself away in grandfather's bedroom every day. He will not talk to anyone. Gloria and Nathan still jump at every sound that so much as resembled the knocking of his walking stick. Mother spends all day in prayer at the temple. And yet the house has become calm and quiet with his passing. But there is one thing that must be done, the final farewell. It weighs heavily upon your soul. The day comes to pay your final respects. Father goes to the tomb alone, save for Stefan, Nathan and you. Mother and Gloria stay at home. Only nobles of those who may become nobles may join this ritual. There is a solemn silence as you walk to the crypt. Father is the one who breaks this silence when you finally reach the door of the family crypt. Your grandfather built this crypt, and now he will be the first Brante to remain here in body forever, the first ever noble in our family. It is our duty now to hold to the sacrament of the flowing blood for Sir Gregor. We will honour his legacy and join him as the founder of the noble Brante dynasty, which actually we can't do because you don't have 6 nobility. Stefan perks up at father's words. His hand still clutches grandfather's sword. Tradition decrees that it must remain in the niche above the owner's sarcophagus. Nathan, on the other hand, looks even more frightened now. Stairs carved of white stone lead you downward. Deep in the gloom of the crypt, atop a pedestal, you see the sarcophagus that holds grandfather's body. Father takes a moment to compose himself before paying his final respects. Gregor Brante, my father, brought our family into nobility through his unshakable will. He was a judge and a loyal servant to the empire. He lived his life as if he had been born a noble, and he never strayed from the path he had chosen. He sought to make the Brante family ennobled by the sword, so that our children's children might be of noble birth. The twins know I abided by my father's words all my life, even if I could not obey him every time. Father lets out a bitter chuckle as he says this. Stefan glares at father, then turns to glare at Nathan and you. After all, the 2 of you were born of father's shameful decision to marry a commoner. And all of you remember his disastrous passing. He did not die the true death he deserved. Yet we must all know that he fought for the future he believed in to the very end, and he would be proud to see his family bid him farewell with the sacrament of nobility. Stefan still glares at father sullenly. His fingers remain clutched around grandfather's sword. Nathan barely pays attention to the words. He looks around with unease, his arms folded across his chest. Father reaches into his jacket and pulls out a slender dagger, thin and sharp. He takes off his gloves. Watch me carefully, my sons. Make a small cut in your palm of your hand and let your blood flow into this duct on the wall of the crypt. It will join your grandfather's blood here and flow forever. Then ancestor and progeny will become as one. We shall enter our family's blood tide and receive grandfather's final blessing. For his blood flow first in our blood tide, he will respond to you. You are part of him and he is part of you. With a quick motion, father slices his hand and holds a bleeding cut above a small opening in the wall. Then he hands the dagger to Stefan. Stefan cuts his hand without hesitation and does as father did. You receive the dagger next. The dagger's handle feels warm. You hesitate for a moment. As you look at the palm of your hand, if you participate in this ritual, you will enter the Brante blood tide. You, a low-born child, a child who is still a commoner. We can only give the dagger back. As you're ready to claim your legacy as a descendant of the nobleman Gregor Brante, the eyes of your father and brothers are upon you. Nathan, the youngest brother, will follow your example, and you'll be certain of this. So we could have asked for his blessing if we had nobility greater than 6 and Gregor being at 2, or we could have just got over with it if we had the nobleman's sacrament, but we haven't. So all we can do is give the dagger back, which puts father lower with us, but Nathan likes us more. It gives us more willpower as well, but unfortunately we haven't got any more decisions, so unfortunately we have to give the dagger back. You return the dagger to father and say you cannot participate in the ritual. You are a commoner and your back bears the mark of the lash. Grandfather would never let you honour his name as a nobleman. Nathan nods in agreement. You do not deserve this honour. Father furrows his brow and shakes his head. Stefan, help me close the lid of the sarcophagus, and remember to ask your grandfather for his blessing. As for you two, it seems you weren't ready to walk the nobleman's path after all. You're right, son. Your grandfather would never have allowed it. He might have, if we could have asked him. You can see that in my noble playthrough. The lid of the sarcophagus falls into place with a heavy, resonant thud. Then, suddenly, you all freeze as each of you hears your late grandfather speak to you. His voice is loud and it rings in the depths of the crypt, and yet he speaks to each of you separately. Foul blood, weakling! I knew you never had it in you to rise above your meagre birth, Jordan. You have not a drop of nobility in you, and your pathetic little brother is the same. You are a taint upon my flesh and blood. Begone from my crypt. Your legs carry you out of the crypt of their own accord. Out of that scruffy crypt. You can finally breathe again. You hear slow footsteps behind you. You turn around and meet Nathan's gaze. You did the right thing. If it weren't for you, I'd have done what Father told us. Grandfather said I should stay away from his legacy. Said I'd do me no good if I tried to follow in his footsteps. How's that for words of advice, eh? Nathan sighs as he embraces you. Father's not happy. Father and Stefan leave the crypt much later and walk to the carriage without a word. You and Nathan humbly follow behind them. But Nathan likes us, which is more important for me at the minute. Our willpower's gone up, but I didn't really need that. But anyway. Things are already playing it differently than my noble path, which is quite nice. So here 1132. Sorry, 32. Chapter 2. The Fugitive Girl. Grandfather's passing and last respects have left a mark on the entire family. His words relayed from the hereafter keep echoing in your mind. You still do your best to avoid the memory of grandfather's last night and spend more time on the streets with Tomas and your other classmates. The road by the house reminds you of another clash with death. Sometimes as you walk along that road you recall Sophia, the beautiful girl with the wonderful eyes and the terrifying, thundering hooves. You have not seen Sophia since that fateful day. The children who live nearby say her parents sent her to a rich Arcanian family, the Ottons, as a servant. The sun is set, the pillar shines palely in the dark sky. Tomas is ill, so you decide to visit him and tell him the latest news. The streets seem oddly agitated tonight, full of horses, cloaked men, strange faces and hushed voices. A young nobleman in a heavy embroidered cloak is walking back and forth, clutching at his sword nervously. There's a grimace of rage on his delicate blue face. He is an Arcanian. You overhear voices. Sir Otton! The girl's not at home. We searched the house. Her parents swear she ran away from her home too. They claimed they wanted to bring her back. Just do whatever it takes. Turn this loathsome district upside down if you must, but bring my servant back to me. She's here. Sophia ran away from an Arcanian. How can this be? There was only one place on the entire street where a person could hide, the abandoned Moral House, 4 houses away from yours. You head there doing your best not to attract attention. The lopsided house built of yellow brick has been abandoned for 20 years or so. You remember playing there as a boy. You glimpse a figure inside before you enter. A pair of eyes glimmer in the dark. You would recognize them even after 4 years. Sophia has grown up. She is almost an adult now, and her face is full of fear. She is not the easygoing girl next door that you remember. She finally recognizes you. Oh, it's you, Jordan. Be quiet. They're all looking for me. I ran away from the youngest Otton. I might be in for a lesser death here, but I'd rather die than spend another day in their slavery. I'm just a thing to him, just a toy to play with. Sophia winches and closes her mouth as she says this. There's a glint of bright yellow deep in her eyes. I ran to my parents. I told them all about the men I had to serve, that they went and alerted the Ottons. They don't want to be the target of their ire, but you aren't going to tip them off, are you? The barking and shouting are getting closer. Sophia's voice grows quiet. She runs off to the darkest corner of the house before you can answer. One of Otton's servants is so close you can hear his cloak swishing against the ground. He notices something and calls for the others. There are more voices around you now. They approach the house from the yard and surround it. One of them seems particularly snappy, annoyed and impatient. You've already heard this voice today. If you're in there, Geld, you'd be wise to come out and quit wasting my time. All will be forgiven and you will go back where you were. You know it, and if you don't, I'll drag you out by the hair. Ah, we've got another option at least. I can't help her flee because I don't have the ingenuity. Is that right? Yeah. The hilt of the young Arcanian sword bashes at the door. He's about to lose his patience for good. Sophia hugs the wall in the dark, trying to stay still. She glances at you. What will you do? Your heart is racing. Can you act against the Arcanian's orders? Do you have the gall to defy the mighty nobleman? Yes, we do, and that will give us Sophia trusting and +1 with her. She's not going to be important for the clergy playthrough, I don't think, but it's no harm. Rather than hiding alone, which just gives me more willpower, and I don't need more of that. We're going to try and stop Otton. You pull yourself together and walk slowly to the half-collapsed doorway. Sophia stays behind. The tall young Arcanian stares you down, his condescending smile dripping with scorn. In your most assertive voice, you answer his question. He will find no fugitive girl in this house. What are you doing here, boy? I wasn't speaking to you. Out of my way. Otton needs no permission to enter, so he steps inside. You stand in his way. You have already assured the young Arcanian there is no one else inside. You have done him a great service. What makes him doubt your words? Why, you lowlife, how dare you stand in an Arcanian's way? You must have lives to spare. We really don't. Autumn backhands you with an immense strength, enough to send you flying. The Arcanian draws his sword. It rises into the air. But then one of his men shouts, "Sir, there she is!" The Arcanian turns away and briskly walks away. Sophia used your distraction to climb out the window in the back. You jump to your feet and escape the house in the same way. Sophia's slight silhouette is gaining distance far ahead. One of Autumn's men is chasing her down, ready to catch her at any moment. Uh-oh. But then, something unbelievable happens. Sophia lets out a dreadful scream, and the air around her sizzles with golden sparks. Autumn's men fall to the ground, clutching their head. Sophia freezes for a second, as though uncertain of what she just did. What was that? Autumn screams at her right next to you. "So that's how it is, eh? The wench is a witch! Seize her!" Magic? Sophia is a witch? Sophia's silhouette disappears down an alleyway. Autumn's men give chase, but they will never find her in the dark, sprawling district. You watch her go. Will you ever see her again? So she's trusting at least, which is quite good. Your heroic act gave Sophia a faint glimmer of hope. The runaway girl becomes the talk of your district for an entire week. You overhear that Sophia managed to flee the city. The Autumns are furious. After this sudden disappearance, she disappears from your life once more. You will not see her again until much, much later. So we experienced our first romantic feelings. It doesn't give us anything, that event, but no harm having it. Closer and closer to the end of adolescence. 15 years of age now. God, we were 8 when we started. It's flying along. Year 1133, summer. The bloodstained sermon. You are about to turn 15, just one step away from adulthood. Mother is acting anxious at dinner today, barely touching her food. You exchange glances with Gloria. She carefully tells you that she wants to go to the tailor. Mother shudders and her hands clench into fists. "No, don't you dare leave home today, I forbid it. That dirty heretic Fotis is preaching his lies under the silver tree today. Twins willing, I don't want you to hear any of that." You and Gloria glance at each other again. Fotis, he is a patriarch, the head of the clergy, throughout the entire province. That is the first time you've heard your mother speak like this about a priest, especially such a high-ranking one. Once you leave the dinner table, Gloria comes to your room with a cunning expression on her face, like she's about to play a trick on someone. She has a plan. The two of you should sneak out of the house and go to the silver tree. You simply must hear that sermon for yourself. What's so bad about Patriarch Fotis? Why does Mother hate him so much? You two are grown-ups now. Surely you have the right to know. You agree with your sister. Together you sneak out from under your mother's watchful eye and hurry to the silver tree. The temple block is full of people from all ranks and estate. There is barely enough room for you to squeeze through the crowd. The crowd has gathered around the very roots of the tree. Gloria suggests that you climb up to the roof of a nearby building so you can hear and see everything better. And not a moment too soon. From the roof you see a tall, silver-haired priest step onto the platform by the tree. Dressed in the common black robe that looks far beneath his rank, yet he stands like a noble before the crowd. Behind his back is a banner flapping in the wind, the open book. This is the symbol of the new faith, the crowd whispers. The patriarch holds his hand up to the sky, and the entire temple block grows quiet. He begins his sermon, his vibrant voice rolling across the square. Fotis speaks of a great mistake. "We entrusted ourselves to the lots as the only way to fulfill divine providence in this world. But for all these years the will of the twins has been interpreted for us by a single man, Prophet Entails. The twins are ever watching from atop the shining pillar. Of this we have no doubt, but how can we so blindly follow and believe that we truly follow their will by following the lots? Have we not seen the 3 lots of Entails fail again and again to answer the question of how we ought to live our lives? Have we not seen people change their lot in life again and again without being smitten by divine wrath? Every person born, whether human or Arcanian, lowborn or noble, must find their lot and their way to the gods on their own. From now on we will seek the gods in the accounts of their own lives, in their own acts in this world, and in their own words as they echo within us. And as we heed the voice of the twins within, we will each find their path for us on our own." The crowd at the silver tree listens to the patriarch's speech in stunned silence. You glance at your sister, her eyes glistening with tears as she hears Fotis' words. Then suddenly a hoarse cry rises from the crowd. If there are lone lots, does that mean the nobles are going to till the fields and the commoners are going to bear arms? The crowd begins to murmur. The patriarch raises an arm and inhales, ready to answer. An odd figure leaps from the crowd onto the platform, a dirty beggar dressed in rags. A knife flashes in his hand. The blade slices. Blood starts spurting from Fotis' throat. He slumps over and collapses. A dark brown puddle spreads across the platform where he had stood. Gloria clutches her mouth to suppress a shriek. Well, dear God, if we try and pick the new faith option and this happens to us, we'll be on our true death. A few moments of stunned silence and then the screams begin. The people are frantic. The temple guards try to restore order in the crowd, but to no avail. An old woman dressed in an Inquisitor's cassock tries in vain to apply pressure to the patriarch's wound. The nobles draw their swords. Dogs are barking. The crowd is pushing and shoving. Children are crying. The entire square by the tree is in chaos. From the roof you see the moment when people start trampling each other, howling, praying, shouting. Gloria tugs on your sleeve. Time to go. You climb down from the roof and run. You return home without exchanging a word. Mother has been in her room all the while, so no one noticed your absence. Gloria locks herself in her room. You do not discuss the things you have just seen. They are too frightening. But your parents discuss every little detail of the blood-stained sermon over dinner. This is unbelievable. A patriarch murdered in plain sight. The gendarmes and the Archduke's guards have searched every corner of the slums, and the murderous beggar has disappeared without a trace. I can't even imagine a more gruesome crime. Fotis has died a true death, never to return from the hereafter. But how? Why can't the patriarch be reborn? He's so close to the twins. Such is the way of the world, my child. Once you are granted great power by the twins' will, there's no hope for you to come back, not even after the first of your deaths. Emperors, their powerful vassals, head of the great Archean dynasties, patriarchs of the church, none of them are destined to be reborn. You should keep that in mind. Maybe we could become a patriarch in the future. Fotis is gone forever. I fear for his soul. It was lost in doubt. Will the twins accept him upon the peak of the pillar? We must pray for the patriarch, children. Let us hope he managed to return to the true old faith before the moment of his passing. But there is little hope of that. So, we're moving closer to a schism, and order is falling ever further. And there we have it, the last night. So unfortunately we did actually fail to get the Stefan's disgrace option, which I really wanted to get actually, because it would have been good for friendship with him. But well, that's the way things happen, unfortunately. We got everything else though. I wasn't looking to get Glorious Secret in this playthrough because that's from my Conspirator playthrough. And Blood Tide I got in my Noble one. So I've got all these one way or another, but I would have liked to get Stefan's because it'll give us extra nobility and actually spirituality. But anyway, let's push on for the last night and finish Adolescence. Tomorrow you turn 16. According to Imperial law, you will be a full adult. Your time at Sir Tibor's school has ended. You have studied enough to apply for the Imperial College and learn the judge's trade there. You are to travel to Eterna tomorrow. Your friend Tomas will go there with you to try his luck in the Imperial capital. Mother and father prepare you for the long journey. Remember, son, there is only one goal for you. You must become a student at the Imperial College. Your teachers dragged you through all those books for a reason. You have the knowledge and fervour to be ennobled by the mantle as I was, and my late father was before me. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be the one to write the name Brante into the Blue Book and ensure that your children's children will be ennobled by birth. Then the mother speaks to you carefully. There is worry in her eyes. But Robert, there may be another path for our son. Stefan, your firstborn, was born a noble. He will surely earn the title for the entire family. Your second son bears the favour of the twins. For him, the path of the priest is a worthy calling, no less than a nobleman's sword. They've been arguing about your future for a while now. Still, she would never defy the will of a nobleman and her husband. You smile at them both, trying to placate them. Gloria laughs quietly behind their backs. Just don't become a snoot like Stefan, and you'll do just fine. Mother chides Gloria for that. You wink at your sister. Nathan has been downcast all evening. He barely touches his dinner. When everyone gets up from the table, he suddenly rushes over to embrace you. Please don't go, Jordan. Can't you stay? I don't know what I'm going to do without you. You tussle his hair in response. There is no way you can stay now, you say. But when you come home, and you will come home, you'll tell him all the stories and bring him a special present from Eterna. This is it. All your lessons have been learned, all your things have been packed for the road. You will leave the family home tomorrow. Tonight is your last night at home before your departure. You walk through the rooms one last time. The sitting room, where Mother used to read you fairy tales. The library, where Gloria used to spend all of her time. Father's study, which you entered only on special occasions. The backyard where you taught Nathan to build towers one summer. The whole place feels so familiar, so dear to you. It feels like home. You lived here for 16 years. Will you ever return? It is getting late. Everyone is already in their rooms, but you hesitate. Father, Mother, Gloria, Nathan. It'll be a long time before you see them again. Who will you spend your last few hours at home with? Interestingly, when I did this as a noble, I had all the options unlocked, so I actually think I've been playing better not having the consequences out for me, actually, which is why I'll be getting rid of them once we get to Eterna. So we could have spent time with Father, which would have given us +2 nobility. But Father's not grateful, and nor is our relationship greater than 4. With Mother, I'll get extra relationship as well as spirituality. Gloria, the same thing, ingenuity. And then with Nathan, I'll get willpower and Nate +1. So we're going to go spend time with Mother. Which is interesting because this is where I went wrong on my noble playthrough. I wasn't intending on doing a noble playthrough from the start. I wasn't intending on being a clergyman, and because I didn't have this +2, I didn't have a good enough stat for clergy. I could have still gone on to be a clergyman, but it wouldn't have been with very high stats. But now we've got max. We will have max spirituality. I would have considered going to see Father if the option had been open. Because maybe getting the +2. I don't know if it works for the last event of a chapter, but it might have unlocked Stefan's disgrace for us. But anyway, let's go spend some time with Mother and max out spirituality. I've never actually maxed out a skill in this game before, so that's quite good. You open the door to Mother's room. She is kneeling in prayer. Her father is to the door, and her whispers fill the room. You open the door to Mother's room. She is kneeling in prayer. Her back is to the door, and her whispers fill the room. She turns around and smiles gently when she hears your footsteps. You want to spend tonight with her before you leave. Mother reaches out to you. Come with me, Jordan. There is no need for anybody else to hear us. You walk silently downstairs, enter the empty sitting room, and light the candles. You are so close to the gods, my son. I knew it as soon as you were born. I saw them watching over you closely. Let us pray together, my son. May the twins know you honor their every touch. You stand by Mother's side as she whispers prayer after prayer. First she offers gratitude for the life and lot you have been granted, then a plea to show you your path through the world, for it has no mercy. Next, a promise to heed and obey their every call. There is such fervour in her prayer, such piety. You know for certain as you pray with her that the gods will provide for you. They will ensure that your path is true. There is no other way. The sun is about to rise. You should rest before the long trip, but you are not tired at all. On the contrary, you feel lucid and clear-headed. Mother embraces you once the prayers are done. My son, life is hard, but it is just more so for those who follow their lot. Remember, be humble in your words and work hard. So we've maxed out our relationship with Mother, which is great. But before you go, Mother removes a pendant with the twins' cross and puts it around your neck. You return to your room and get into bed. You can see the shining pillar from the window, glowing gently against the twilight morning sky. All your worries about the long journey are no more. You feel calm and serene. And we have maxed out spirituality to 10. We're blessed by the gods. And we've departed from home. Year 1133. You leave the family home for a long time. Your future awaits you in Eterna, the capital of the Empire. And there we have it, the end of Adolescence. Last night was your final night at home. The carriage is now waiting at the gate, ready to take you to the capital. The clip-clopping of the idle hooves against the cobblestones count the seconds before your departure. You take one more look at your parents' house and recall your childhood spent there, in the nearby yards, at your school and on the winding streets of Anizot. Actually, think about it, when I ended this chapter, I was quite good with nobility and spirituality because I had +6 enough to do blood tithes, so our nobility skills and our conspirator skills won't be so good going forward. You clashed with the greater world around you and survived. You felt a tingle of emotion for the first time. You were taught by the school and the streets. You explored the city of your birth and learned something of its past. You witnessed first-hand events that will be remembered by history for all time. All of this is yours now, forever. You saw death twice. Lesser death followed by rebirth, and the true death that takes and never gives back. You saw death lying in wait to strike the unaware, like a beast stalking its prey. You saw Grandfather's angry grimace lit by the flickering flame of the lamp, the Archduke's cavalry trampling those who stood in their way, and your older brother's bloodied sword slicing through the air. Death has followed you from a very young age. And yet you live on. You have a friend who has been by your side all these years. Tomas taught you many things. How to take a hit, how to keep your word, and how to remain true to your own self. And now Tomas is walking to the same carriage as you with a heavy bag slung over his shoulder. Your friend will remain your companion for the time being. Ahead of you is a long trip towards the capital and adulthood. For the first time, you will be away from your family and home. What awaits you in the future? Who bloody knows? I mean, so much has happened in this chapter. That's all of our events. We didn't do very well with nobility. We could have done better. I probably would have preferred having nobility 5 and spirituality 8 if we had had the option, but we didn't. So we continue on with the choices we made anyway. The good thing is, though, is that determination is quite good. That's 7, so you'll see going forward that the next set of skills are based on determination and perception, plus nobility, ingenuity, and spirituality. So our willpower is actually really, really good, but we've died twice, which is a little bit scary, to be honest. And we continue on. But just before that, I'm going to go into the province and read a little bit about Eterna. The capital of the blessed Arcanian Empire, this ancient and beautiful city was built upon the shores of 3 rivers. By the Emperor's own order, Eterna houses the Imperial College and the Military Academy, which provide opportunities for commoners to become nobles of the mantle through service and valor, as well as the Divine Seminary. Eterna is the place where the Arcanian tradition, architecture, and fashion have always reigned supreme, but the influx of human nobles and wealthy merchants is slowly changing the way of life in the capital. So that's where we're headed. We're still quite young, we're only 16. We've still got a hell of a lot to go.
Leaving my hometown behind, I set out for the capital of the Empire. There, I would discover my role in society.
Chapter 3, Ute, 1134. Leaving home. The driver flicks the reins, the carriage slowly sways as it starts moving away from your home. You stick your head out the window and wave goodbye to your family. Nathan is running after the carriage with Tomas's younger brother in tow, tears glistening in their eyes. It hurts you to leave your home behind. Ahead lies Eterna, the imperial capital. You have often read about it and heard stories from Father and Stefan. It is a city that surpasses Anizot enormously in terms of size, age, wealth, and beauty. But what is it really like? What kind of life awaits you there? What will you learn there, and where will your actions take you? You pass the old walls of Anizot. Somewhere within them is the old fortress you and Tomas built together out of the old wooden planks, now left to the care of your younger brothers. You two are adults now. Perhaps your fortress will crumble, now abandoned, or perhaps your brothers will continue what you started. Who knows? You look down at your hands, knuckles covered in scars from the street antics, fingers stained with ink. Your mother gave you a cross to wear away from home, and now you feel its warmth against your chest. Your family counts on you, even though they all wish a different future for you, but they are now behind you now in Anizot. From this point on, only you will decide which road you will take. This is the journey you prepared for throughout your entire childhood. Ahead of you lie many years in the capital, years that will determine your fate and place in society. So here we go. We have our new qualities. So these are personal qualities in adulthood which you will use for the rest of your life. They are some of the qualities that you have gained in childhood and adolescence. So perception being quite high, which is good, and nobility give us diplomacy. We're promising. It's not great. 12 is kind of where you want to be with these skills, but this is more important to the judge, so we're not going to be really using it that much. But 10 is okay. Manipulation is 9, so we're quite naive. We're not far from being canny, but it's still quite low. But again, it's important for the conspirators, so we're not too worried about it. Theology is 17. We're a theologist. Actually, that word should be theologian, but anyway. But we're only 3 away from being a prophet, so that's quite good, insightful, and blessed by the gods. Our determination and nobility makes us really bad in fight. We shouldn't be getting into battles. We're not good at that at all. We're not very good at scheming either, with determination or ingenuity. We're very inexperienced, and quite a good bit there. But our eloquence is quite good. We have a silver tongue, and we're not far away from being an inspired speaker, which is great. So 14 is really good for that, and that's important for the Inquisitor. So theology and eloquence are what we need for this life path, and we're doing quite strongly in both of those. And there we have it. That's the start of youth. We've got a few different options here. We can become Path of the Lawless, Path of the Priest, which we've already nailed both of them. Path of the Nobleman, so we could do that if we wanted to. And we can have true death here, possibly. As well as a bunch of different events. So we could be a Shield of the New Faith, a Shield of the Old Faith. We shall see what happens in that. Victory in the Tournament, Bond of Friendship, Lotless at Large, and the Collapse of the Lotless, and Alice's Rescue. And that's just a quick summary of all our skills for now. And so we enter youth and see what awaits us now as we begin the path of the priest. (1134), 16 years of age. And we have the first event of our new life, arrival in the capital. So that's a really good place to leave it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about the decisions. How did they plan out compared to how you would have done things? Would you have done things differently? Let me know, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care and have a good day.